So I found the zeros in factored form, so it was already factored. I found the zeros where I had to factor it, and then I found them. Now I'm going to find the zeros in something called vertex form. You'll know it's in vertex form because it looks like this. So what I'm going to do with all of them is they all say equals 0. So when I see a y, I'm going to put 0. So I'm going to solve by first taking care of whatever's on the outside. So I'm going to add 4, add 4. Once I am just left with parentheses, my issue is that squared, I'm going to square root. Now when I square root something, I'm going to have two answers. You're going to write plus or minus 2, and the square root of 4 is 2, equals x plus 3. It's going to seem weird at first, but you'll get used to it. Now subtract 3, subtract 3. You're going to have two options as answers, negative 3 plus 2 and negative 3 minus 2. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. Negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5. So to repeat about what we did, if it says y, just put a 0. Move everything on the outside of the parentheses to the other side. Once you get just the parentheses, square root, don't forget the plus or minus. Then move that over and break it down. With that being said, let's try letter C. Make the y equal 0. We actually have two numbers on the outside of the parentheses, but remember we always add and subtract first. So add 72. 72 equals 2x plus 1 squared. I can't square root because I have a number on the outside. The number's touching. Touching means multiply. The opposite is divide. Now I just have a squared square root. The square root of 36 is 6 plus or minus equals x plus 1. I'm almost done. I have to move the 1. Minus 1 minus 1. So I have two options as answers. Let me zoom that in a little bit. Negative 1 plus 6 and negative 1 minus 6. Negative 1 plus 6 is 5. Negative 1 minus 6 is negative 7. Okay. Let's try letter E. Letter G. First thing I'm going to do, make my y equals 0. I have two things on the outside. I have a fraction and this, but this is being subtracted. Do the opposite, which is adding. I get 2 equals 1/2 x minus 8 squared. I can't square root yet because I still have the 1/2. Whatever's on the bottom, multiply it to both sides. So now that 2 and that 2 are gone. 2 times 2 is 4. Now I just have the squared, square root, 2 plus or minus, don't forget the plus or minus because you always need to have two answers, equals x minus 8. This is being subtracted, the opposite is adding. I have two options for answers, 8, positive 8, but I don't need the plus 2, and positive 8 minus 2. 8 plus 2 is 10. 8 minus 2 is 6. Getting this page done will be worth 2 points, but we're not done with the lesson. Turn the page. This page will be worth 2 points as well, but we're going to do some of the problems together. Letter M. First thing I got to do, set it equal to 0. You'll notice in this case there's nothing added or subtracted, so all that's left to do is divide. Anything divided by 0 is 0. Square root. The square root of 0 is 0, plus or minus. But really, do you need plus or minus nothing? If you have nothing, positive nothing and negative nothing is still nothing. So I subtract 1, subtract 1. So this is the only case where you'll only have one answer. Because whether you add nothing to it or subtract nothing from it, it's the same thing. Now I think you're getting the game, so I'm going to step it up. Set it equal to 0. Add 5, add 5. 5 equals x minus 8 squared. Now here's where it gets a little tricky, because if I try to square root this, I can't take the square root of 5. So you're going to see it like this. Because I can't take the square root of 5, I'm now going to go plus 8 plus 8. So x equals 8. Now those are different. Plus or minus rad 5. Okay, or square root of 5. This will give you full credit. But if you want to get even more credit, I'm going to show you how to get bonus on your test. In your calculator, you're going to go 8 plus square root of 5 and 8 minus square root of 5. So if you look here, I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to go 8 plus. The square root button is this blue button right here, which is right underneath the squared. Since it's blue, you press the blue button. So second squared, 5. And you get this long number. I only want you to round it to the nearest hundredth. When you think of hundredths, just think of money. This is $10 and 23 cents, but the number is a 6. So instead of 23 cents, it's 24 cents. X equals 1024. Now I'm going to clear it up and do it again. 8 minus second squared of 5 equals. Now it's $5.76, but the 3 means it stays. Now let me repeat myself. If you can't take the square root, don't do it. Leave it, and then leave it like this. If you want to get bonus on your test, you'll show me that you can do that. Okay? Let's do one more, and then I'll let you go. Actually, I might do 2. Set this equal to 0. Subtract 15. Subtract 15. Negative 15 equals negative, which means there's an imaginary negative 1 there. X plus 7 squared. The negative 1 is touching. Divide by negative 1. 15 equals x plus 7 squared. Now it's just a squared, square root, square root. I can't take the square root of 15, so I leave it. Equals x plus 7. Subtract 7. I can't subtract this from this, so I am okay with you leaving it like this. This will get you full credit. If you would like to get even more credit and get bonus, in your calculator, you're going to go negative 7 plus the square root of 15. Negative 7 minus the square root of 15. So here I go. Negative 7 plus the square root of 15. And I get $3.12, but the 12 cents makes it 13 cents. Negative. And then I do negative 7 minus. So now I'm going to go negative 7 minus the square root of 15. Oops, I didn't press it. I thought I did. Oops. And I get negative 1087. The 2 means it stays. So x equals negative 1087. It's nice to know these little ways to get bonus. Okay, let's do one more. We'll come up here and do letter P. Okay, set the y equal to 0. Subtract 3, subtract 3. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Anytime you want to get rid of a fraction, multiply by the number on the bottom. Negative 9 equals x squared. Square root, square root. Now I went over this one because if you have a negative inside when you square root, it's not possible. The answer is NS, which is no solution. Okay? Your job right now is to finish this page.